A lot of people still feel that I have done my long run today and hence I need my nutrition. It's very hour specific. If I run 4 hours, then I need to have nutrition. If I run for 1 hour, body doesn't need it. So that kind of thinking has to change, because I think we are in a continued state of activity.
Right.
And we are in a continued state of maybe training as well, or existence.
Yeah.
And nutrition is not just related to the performance aspect.
Right. Not only for the intense stuff.
So I think a few of those things have to change. At the macro level, the goal was simple. Tokyo 2024 mark is what I was aiming for. So whatever I'm going to do in 2023 is going to be towards that.
Right.
Now, for a lot of people, 1 year is a long period. But for me, it was a goal which was put there. So I was prepared to wait. So incidentally, right from 2016, every year, I have been doing sub 3 hour marathon, which got broken in the year 2022.
I am Venki, a working professional in IT as well as an amateur masters athlete and a coach for endurance sports. You are listening to the Working Athlete podcast. Here, I talk to working athletes from all walks of life and experts from various sports to provide you with inspiration, training tips, and lifestyle advice. If this is something that interests you, I have a small request from you. Please subscribe to the channel on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from. You can also let me know what you like and what you would like to listen to more of by commenting in the comment section on YouTube. I promise to do my best to improve with each episode and bring you the best content that helps you and me get better each day. In this episode, I talked to the CEO of one of the top nutrition brands in the country, Vijayaraghavan Venugopal. Vijay has not only built a great nutrition brand in Fast&Up over the last 80 years, but also became one of the strongest masters runners in the country. He ran a sub 3 hour marathon each year since 2016 until 2022, when an injury cut short his streak. This year, he bounced back stronger than ever from the injury to do a personal best of 2 hours 51 minutes and 46 seconds in the Tokyo Marathon recently. In this episode, Vijay shares insights into his training and nutrition, as well as what helped him excel at work along with his sport. It was an amazing conversation with an amazing human. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. This episode is brought to you by The Bike Affair. If you are in search of a one-stop destination that caters to all your cycling needs, our today's sponsor, The Bike Affair, is the perfect place to check out. I have known the founders of The Bike Affair, Krish and Gokul, personally for nearly 15 years now. In fact, my first century ride was with Krish back in 2008. They are both exceptional human beings and entrepreneurs that believe in providing exceptional service to their customers. And it shows. With over 14 years of experience, the Bike Affair has established itself as a trusted source offering honest advice and exceptional service. They are offering a special treat for the listeners of this podcast. You can enjoy a 10% discount on your first order by using the code BikeyVenki on their website. So if you are in Hyderabad, visit their store in Kondapur, or if you are anywhere else in India, shop online by using the link thebikeaffair.com. I will leave the link in the show notes. Now, enjoy the podcast. Welcome to the Working Athlete podcast, Vijay. It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks, Venki. It's been long overdue.
It is. So, I mean, you're fresh coming off a personal best in marathon. 251.42 46. Wow, that is some time. Yeah, this is your personal best.
Yeah, it has been the personal best. I think I did 254.50 something That was in 2019 in Delhi. But it's been around 5 years now. And also I've gotten a little older.
Right.
So getting back and doing this time was truly satisfying.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you and I are of both 48 now, I think.
Let's not reveal this.
But yeah, excellent. So, while you had an amazing performance in Tokyo, just an year back, you got injured and you were not able to run. Is that correct?
Yeah, so 2023 was, or rather 2022 was supposed to be my year where I really wanted to come back, do a lot of good timing, etc. So I was training in right earnest. I think the times were showing up, but in the second half of the year, around September, October, I started getting a pain in the back. I couldn't even tie my shoelace when you
Wow.
went down. There were very acute pain happened in the L4, L5 area. So incidentally, in October, when I did a half marathon, I did one of my best times, but there was a lurking pain inside.
Right.
Visits to physio, we didn't really go in for an MRI. So we just tried to manage it, and I think 2022 November first week was the New York Marathon, which I really wanted to do well, and I felt based on the fitness I could manage to pull off sub 3 hour marathon.
Right.
But the 1 week leading to the marathon was tough. I had to take painkillers, which I had never taken in my life.
Right.
And didn't really do well in that marathon. Came back, did the MRI, and found that I had a L4, L5 disc extrusion,
Wow.
which meant that I was out of action for almost 3 weeks. Having never got an injury in my life, which potentially put me out of any kind of training, that was difficult to accept. Because you really take things for granted.
Right.
And it was that period that I felt that injuries can happen to me as well.
Right.
And you cannot take things for granted, and you don't know what will happen in the next 3 or 4 months.
Right.
So you need to do things the right way. So that was a learning. So between 2022, I think November to 2023 February, there was no running, just getting rehab done.
Right. Great. So, what was it like? Like you said, you never experienced an injury. You've been active all your life, and then to face an injury and be not able to take, a part in, physical activities. What was it like?
So the first thing which comes to your mind is, what do I do now? Because a lot of people who are prone to injuries know how to manage injuries.
Right.
And they know how long it will take to come back, what are the limitations under which they will work and come back. So for me, it was getting into an unknown. And I was also, getting on the wrong side of the 40s.
Right.
So with every passing year, you feel that, am I missing out on doing certain things well? But then I just trusted the process where I knew that I had to do a lot of strengthening. So the first thing that I did was get into the physio center, do my rehab very well, very religiously, was patient enough, because what happens is when you get better, in the 4th or 5th week, your body is itching to get back to running. And that's where I think you might be a little early to get back, and then it can again get back into the cycle of injury.
Being too eager to kind of get into that thick of action again. Yeah.
So I just waited for some time, went, hit the pool, swimming pool, did those water recovery sessions, waited for a lot of time. And it was only in February or so I started to slowly get back, walk, jog. So it was a clean 6 to 8 weeks where I really took things off,
Right.
waited patiently. In fact, after the New York Marathon of 2022, I had an entry into Tokyo March 2023, which is last year.
Right.
So since the injury hit, the first thing I decided was let me defer it. Fortunately for me, there was a small COVID scare last year as well in Japan specifically. So the only year they gave the chance to defer the entry was last year. So I
Right.
utilized that to defer the entry to 2024 March.
Hmm.
So that gave me a clean 1 year path
Right.
to what I needed to do.
Excellent. So you took care of that injury you got, and then what was it like the training circle to, after coming back from injury, what was your, did you reevaluate your goals and stuff, and how did you go about the training?
So broadly, at the macro level, the goal was simple. So Tokyo 2024 March is what I was aiming for. So whatever I am going to do in 2023 is going to be towards that.
Right.
Now, for a lot of people, 1 year is a long period.
Right.
But for me, it was a goal which was put there. So I was prepared to wait. So incidentally, right from 2016, every year, I had been doing sub 3 hour marathon, which got broken, I think, in the year 2022.
Because of that pain and stuff?
No, 2022, yeah. The only marathon that I was supposed to do that year was a New York Marathon, which I didn't do well.
Right.
And that was in November. So I never got an opportunity to do it again.
Right.
Or any other marathon that year.
Correct.
So 2022 was washed out. So that streak was broken. And 2023, I didn't have any marathon to go to. Because I was just coming back from injury. So 2024 March, Tokyo was etched as the next goal. So I had a year. So there was a rehab which happened. So incidentally, March, I had a time when my daughter also is an athlete, national level athlete. So she had wanted to go to Kenya to train.
Right.
So I tagged along. It was still early. I was not even running more than 40, 50 kilometers, but that gave me an opportunity to experience running as it happens in the Mecca of running.
Right.
So we spent from March 1st to 20th there. That gave me an opportunity to look at running differently, the way they did running. So that kickstarted the process of that 1 year, I would say, after the injury.
What was it like, spending 20 days there, and where, like you said, it is a mecca of running. A lot of Kenyan athletes dominate the running world, right? So what was it like spending there, and what were the key learnings from there?
So the first thing was purely awe. I remember going from Nairobi to Eldoret. We had taken a 1 hour flight. And it was a small propeller aircraft, hardly 36, 24 seats out there. And the person who was sitting the seat behind was Haley Gebrselassie. So that was the first initiation into actually going into Eldoret.
Right.
And the next day morning, when you wake up, you go out into the, because it's a small village. Eton is not even a town, it's a village. You just see a lot of runners around doing their own stuff. And the terrain is as bad as it can be.
Right.
And so these were all things that you never imagined being in India. And you had runners running as teams. So running is perceived to be an individual sport. And there you had community, team running together. So that was something which was very interesting to see. Two was enjoying the runs, because the terrains are never going to be easy there. So you need to enjoy each of the runs. And just the sheer way of seeing the Kenyans run in motion was something which was visibly
Poetic, yeah.
poetic. And the kind of times that they kind of built out, the Kenyans, was mind-boggling. So there were a lot of things which one could experience there, which I think we may not be able to put it down in a book or a movie. It is to be lived and see.
Right.
So every day was so interesting. If you are a passionate runner, because there is nothing much to do there.
Right.
You get up in the morning, you go out and run. You come back, have breakfast, and there's nothing else to do.
Correct.
And the evening, you probably go out and run again. And then the night falls. So this is a regime that everyone does. Right? Most of the people who live there, sit there.
Living and breathing running.
You have to really get immersed into that environment. So Kenya, I think, was a wonderful experience. And obviously, you also had you also got to see, say, somebody like a Kipchoge training or a Faith Kipchoge training. So these are things which you will not see every day.
Yeah, it's not something that, it's once in a lifetime kind of situation.
These were things which really helped. So Kenya was March 1st to 20th or so. So it beautifully set up the year of 2023 for me.
Right. Excellent, excellent. And coming to the training, you had 1 year. How did the training go leading up to it? Were there any things that were that you did a little differently than before? And if so, what were they?
So there were obviously a few things which I've started doing differently since 2023 or so, especially after the injury and the visit to Kenya. One is that I enjoy all terrains now. I don't mind running in mud trails. I don't mind starting my runs from home. Vis-a-vis what used to happen earlier, where I typically used to go to a place which is flat and smooth for me to do my intervals so that I can record the best times and have that satisfaction. So that has changed, number one. Two, I have taken strength and conditioning very seriously. I think with passing age, it's very important that you activate your muscles in the right way, build strength into the body, and that has helped me through the year. Third, I think good recovery leads to good training, or perfect training.
True.
So the more you recover well, I think you are able to hit the road with a lot more intensity the next day. So I think recovery is something that I've been a big fan of. I mean, it could be through sleep, through supplementation or whatnot. Whichever leads to a good recovery, I have started doing it. Fourth, in terms of sheer running itself, I think I've started putting more mileage. So in the current block of the marathon, I had around 4 to 5 weeks where I did more than 100 kilometers of mileage, which is very unlike what I used to do prior to 2019, when I did most of my marathons, which were fast enough, with just 60 kilometers of mileage. I guess. So all this has obviously contributed to what I wanted to do. And the goal during the year was just to be the best of what I have been in the last 9 odd years.
Right.
So if I was able to do every run or every event better than what I had ever done, I felt good, and I was probably inching towards the goal.
Right. Excellent. And you made it to the start line of Tokyo, right? With all this mileage and stuff. So how was the day before and the race day in terms of your last minute prep and then, fueling, and what was your race strategy or pacing strategy like, and how did you go about executing it?
So I am always the firm belief that your race day mirrors what training you have done. So a good training session or training block gives you a fairly good indication of what your race day is going to be. From that, and you are also experienced enough to know that right now. So from whatever indications have been there, were there during my training stint, I was more or less looking forward to a 2 hour 15 minutes to a 2 hour 55 minutes full marathon timing at Tokyo. So in terms of paces, it was around that which I was aiming for. In that sense, not to be super aggressive, but to just maintain what I was looking at. To convert it, it was a 4:05 minutes per kilometer pace. And that was what I thought I'd start off with. In terms of the course itself, Tokyo is one of the more favorable marathon courses that you could find.
Flattish?
It's flattish. The weather was pretty good, around 7 to 11 degrees centigrade, ideal for marathon running.
Yeah.
No rains. In that sense, it was a good day. The only cons of Tokyo was a lot of U-turns out there, a little bit of crowding. But those are all things which you know you are to expect, and you kind of maneuver accordingly.
Yeah, account for. Yeah.
So, in terms of expectations and what I was supposed to be doing in the Tokyo Marathon, it was very clear. Now, in any typical outdoor or out of the country race, I would like to go a few days earlier, which meant that I went somewhere around Tuesday evening, which gives two things that you can do. One is getting acclimatized to the weather a little bit, understand what you can wear on the race day, etc. And two, get your sleeping patterns right. And so that is what I did. But I think when you're running 10th or 12th year of your running journey, you could pretty much have things like what you want to eat, what you are going to do in the last 2 days, all pretty much sorted. The only thing that I wanted to really avoid was making Saturday, which is the race, 1 day prior to the race day, more hectic. So making sure that Saturday is not too hectic for me, so that I have my legs fresh for the next day. So luckily everything went off well, and the race day morning was good to go.
Right. So for someone like you who have been in running, you said, what you need to do in terms of the day before and, a couple of days before is like pretty much set. But what is it for you in your case, so that probably people can learn from it?
Yeah. So in any case, when you look at a marathon race day, everyone knows the concept of tapering.
Right.
So people typically would taper off, not do those long, too much intense miles in the last 1 week. You don't do intense strength and conditioning session, which can hurt your back the last 1 week. So these are things that typically I really adhere to, because you just need to make sure that your body is safe, in good shape to do the race.
Right.
Because you have done your hard work for the last 3 months or whatever.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate part about a marathon is that you train hard for doing 2 or 3 marathons, good marathons in a year. And if it doesn't go well, you can't get back and do it the next weekend. Unlike a 1500 meter race or 800 meter race.
Right.
So you need to give as much precautions to make sure that happens. Otherwise, in terms of food, nutrition, one tends to make sure that you hydrate quite a bit. You have a lot of electrolytes in the last few days. Making sure your body is well balanced. You sleep well. I personally don't like to travel too much before the race day. Even though it's a new place, I try to keep my tourist hat a little bit away, especially 3-4 days prior to the race day.
Right.
Since you have put in so much effort, you don't want anything to go wrong. So in that way, I like to stay in a very confined, comfortable zone, which is very similar to what I would have done in Bangalore.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it.
Great. So were you able to, in terms of race pacing and strategy execution, were you able to hit your paces? Were there any moments that it was in doubt that you could meet your target, or did everything went smooth?
So I think in terms of paces, there was nothing in doubt through the race, because I started at a 4:05 kind of pace. Or the only few concerns during the race was the crowd initially, because it was a little difficult to maneuver. Even though you thought it will be a little tough, but you sometimes feel that it's not as bad as you think it is. But I think the first 4-5 kilometers, it was making me a little slower than what I would have wanted. The rhythm was getting broken in the initial phases. The other thing that I noticed was that even by the 5th or 6th kilometer, my watch was showing higher distance than the kilometer markings which were there.
Okay.
It could be because of multiple reasons, GPS, you traversing a little longer route because of the crowd and the length and the width of the road, etc. So that gap was only getting a little more wider as I progressed. But in terms of paces, I knew that I was on dot. And in terms of the roads of the marathon itself, Tokyo gives you the best roads you could ever see anywhere in the world. So there was nothing to complain. The hydration and the support along the route was great. So incidentally, this was the only marathon that I probably have done where I've done a negative split.
Wow.
So I always feel, even now, that for amateurs, it's very difficult to do a negative split because the body gives away the last 10-12 kilometers.
Right.
Even though you are trained well, etc. Unless you are really conservative in the first. So looking back, I think I did a 1:26:40 or so in the first half, and went on to finish in 2:51:46. So it was probably a negative split by a couple of minutes, which in itself was new to me. Not that I prepared for it. I would have generally done an even split in a course like this, but I felt that day possibly belonged to me and I had to take it. So I went a little bit more aggressive, which I don't do it normally because you could burn out. But luckily it all went well, and the second half was more of a dream run for me.
Right, great. So, what in terms of fueling, is this something different that you have done, or in general, what is your fueling like in a marathon for the race itself?
So, one of the first things that I do in any full marathon is get to the start line in the most fed condition, which means that you have your breakfast. Whatever you are used to eating. I would typically eat maybe a bread, rice, whatever the typical Indian breakfast or eating could be.
Right.
So get into the race line in a good condition, well hydrated, which means that the starting point you should be well balanced with water and electrolytes, so that you give the race the best chance. Once the race starts, in fact, in Tokyo, the moment you enter the gate, which is almost an hour and 15 minutes before the start, or an hour and a half, you are not supposed to take any bottles, which means that you cannot fill the bottle with the liquid of your choice and then get into the current. So here I didn't have any liquid or water for almost 1.5 hours before the race started.
Okay.
In many marathons, you have options where they have electrolytes, but here I couldn't find one handy, so I just was prepared not to have it. Once the race starts, I typically rely on my energy gels and water and electrolytes, which you get on the course. But in this race, one funny thing happened. I typically keep my gels in the pockets. So I have a plan to have a gel every 20-25 minutes. And then based on how the body takes it, whether not have it or not have it, but this is a broad strategy that I follow. I would have taken 3-4 gels, and the rest of the gels I kept in the pocket behind my shorts, zipped.
Yeah.
The first time the zip opened, everything was great. By 25, 26 kilometers, I wanted to have the next gel. The zip didn't open. And,
Okay.
it was stuck.
Hmm.
I tried a few times, it didn't open. I ran for a kilometer, thought maybe in 10 minutes it might get better. Again tried, it didn't open. I tried 2-3 times in the span of 3-4 kilometers, it didn't open. After 26 kilometers, I decided this is not going to happen.
Right.
The gels are not going to be available. So those 5-6 gels stay in my pocket till the end of the marathon. And I decided that the only thing that I need to do now is to have more intake of the electrolyte and water which is on the way.
Wow.
So on the go, I slightly tweaked my strategy and had more of the electrolytes on the way. And luckily, I think it was a good day overall for me. So there was no balking which happened. So in that way, everything turned out well.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, did the electrolytes that were available on the course also have some carbs in it or sweet or whatever?
Yeah, it was Pocari Sweat, which is the best.
It has some.
Electrolyte in Japan.
Right.
So it was great to have it on the go.
Yeah, Pocari Sweat, I first saw when I was racing in Bintan. It has some sugars in it, so I think that kind of saved you there. Excellent. So taking a step back, right? This was your excellent Tokyo Marathon performance. Taking a step back, I would always start my podcast with talking about person's relationship with sport growing up. And what was yours?
So this is always an interesting question to answer. So I love sports. In fact, I closely aligned myself when I used to grow up. One of the full forms that people are given for a brand like Adidas is all day I dream about sports. So growing up, it was something very integral to what I believed in. And it used to traverse multiple sports. And I think till today, it's been the same. Early in those days, athletics, cricket, football, and various other sports used to be something that I used to actively participate in. But in the last 10, 12 years, it's been more of running, which I practice. But in terms of my appreciation, my following, sports, it has been across. So that interest still stays. And I'm happy that it's the way it is.
You played cricket for a long time, is that correct?
So early growing up, I used to play cricket quite actively. Played junior cricket for my state, which is Kerala. Played quite a bit of corporate cricket in Mumbai. So that was till late 2006 or so, which would have been 30 years.
Right.
Late of 30 years. So cricket was something which was a go-to sport at that point of time. But I loved athletics, track.
Right.
Because that Kerala was so good in athletics that every time you hit the track, you get better.
The times of PT Usha and all that.
You saw them participating at the national scene, but even at the district, sub-district level in Kerala, the standards were phenomenally
high.
And I also think that those were days when you never had the way of training that now we are all training. I mean, you being a cyclist, I run. The way we look at data, the way we structure our training is totally different from what used to be 20, 30 years back. And the amount of training, sheer number of hours that you put in is also so different. So I think times have changed, but sport is something which is being close.
Right. Talking about times changing and all that, right? When was your first marathon, and what remained pretty much same, and what changed in terms? It could be in terms of training, it could be in terms of pricing strategies, fueling strategies, and all that from your first one to now.
So the first one happened just because a lot of people were doing it, and had gotten into running while I was in Pune, and I saw a lot of people going to the Mumbai Marathon doing it. So if you have done a 10K and a 21K, the next frontier was the full marathon.
Yeah.
So it was in 2013 that I did my first full marathon in January, where those days there were very few people who were doing even sub 330s.
Correct.
And sub 4 was predictable during those days. When I did the first marathon, it was not even using a structure or anything. I just did maybe one long run of more than 30 kilometers, head straight into the full marathon. I don't even remember how many miles that I used to do every week. I only remember that there used to be a 5-kilometer loop around the University of Pune, which we did once or twice or thrice during the weekend. And you head straight into the full marathon. And I did a 4:02 in my first full marathon. Obviously, looking back, I would have loved it to be below 4.
Below 4.
But marathon is something where you know that the finish or the end is so close, but it's still not there. So the last 10-12 kilometers was really tough to manage to go through. So that's what marathon was. But I continued to run. So a few things which have changed over a period of time. One, the first immediate change was following a plan. So I think from the third marathon, I've started following a plan. The second marathon I did in Hyderabad without a plan, without any structure. My time went from 4:02 to 4:07.
Hyderabad is also a tougher course.
But when you have a bit of sporting history, you sometimes have a little bit of arrogance around you.
Yeah.
Right? That the second time will be better than the first time.
Always expecting more and more, always.
I mean, if others can do it, I can do.
Yeah.
So you will go there and it really humbles you. Then you go back and then you realize that you need a plan. So I think the first half of my running career till 2019, I followed a plan which was called Run Less, Run Fast. Less mileage, more quality workouts, which suited me well. And it helped me establish certain times, which was pretty good those days. I did my first sub 3-hour marathon in 2016 in Paris. That was good. So till 2019 or so, I was following that program. And then I felt that the next half, I wanted some change. Since 2019 end or so, I have taken services of a coach. So that has changed in the second half, even till now.
Right.
And I also felt that the last 3-4 years, especially after COVID, being more older, you are not able to do a lot of intense sessions, which meant that I slightly tweaked it to get more easy runs done. As I told you, more mileage.
Yeah.
So these are things which has happened. In terms of nutrition and other things, one nice thing has been that I've been involved with nutrition for the last 8 years or so. Having been able to experiment with it, and so that has stayed the same with a few tweaks, etc. But otherwise, it's been the same. So broadly, I think you get more experienced running and being focused in the same sport. Unlike a lot of people who have gone to do Ironman.
Right.
So I've stayed consistent and focused. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, excellent. So that is very important, right? Being consistent and being focused, and that has helped you, with that. So now that was your progression, but you being in the sport for more than 10 years, 11 years now, uh, what what have you seen in terms of community growth or otherwise? What are the things that kind of stayed the same or changed over these 11 years?
So a lot of things. I mean, I think I'm truly indebted, grateful to the running community that it gave me an opportunity to start running. Which what I found really good about the running community was that it gives an opportunity to all kinds of people from diverse backgrounds. If you are an introvert, extrovert, you can still get into a community and start running. I love the concept that you can be a silent observer, just look up at the Facebook post, and if there's a run happening, join in. And nobody will even question you why you are there.
Right.
Right? So it gives an opportunity for everyone to get in, which I really think is so different from a game like cricket, which I used to love. I still like, but I used to love at one point of time, where you have to fight for your spots from day one.
Yeah.
So if you're a batsman, there are only 3 slots. So you have to prove from day one that you're good enough to get in. Otherwise, first match, second match, third match, you're still waiting, padded, and not getting a chance to bat.
True.
Whereas for running, you are up there right from the start. In terms of awareness, I think a lot of things have changed. When I started in Pune in between 2011 and 2013, there was very little information which was there in running. And either you have a little bit of internet just going around, or few people who would have done a little bit more than what others would have done. And they kind of shared a lot of knowledge about how one should run, what one should do, etc. I still remember comrades used to be such a novelty 12 years back. Today I see
so many people going,
doing comrades. Those days events were less. And I think a lot more people just got together because you could spend your Sunday mornings together, etc. So those were very early days, I would say. But what has happened over the last 10, 12 years, I think it has democratized running quite a bit. I think 12 years back, it was still a few people of few stakeholders who possibly had all the knowledge.
Right.
Supposedly had all the knowledge. You had few groups, few places where runs started. Today it's completely democratized. You have a lot of races, runs, events happening. You have a lot of options to choose from. You have a lot of information to choose from. So I think the power truly now rests with anyone who wants to pursue the sport of running. Right? So that is good, right? And that helps more and more people to get into the sport of running. What is probably few things which can be better, but I don't think we need to complain about it. Is one, it's gotten more competitive, which is good. But I think at the end of the day, it's only a sport. And we have to believe that we are amateurs. We have taken up the pursuit of sport
just for the love of it.
Just for the love of it, to help us lead our lives more healthier and happier. So
Right.
that's where it should stay. You fight hard on the field, but that's where it should stay.
True.
But I think I sometimes feel that it goes beyond the realm of where the sport action lies.
Right.
That is one thing that one can avoid. Two, I think, again, it's a choice, matter of choice. I think there's too much of social media hype around few of the things that we do.
Yeah.
That can be avoided. But again, you have choices to make. So I'm perfectly okay with it. Three, I think it's gotten more expensive. As a runner, I would hate to say this, but prior to 2019, I mean, we all used to run pretty fast with non-carbon tickets too, which used to come at $3,000.
Yeah.
Today, shoes cost 20,000 rupees.
Yeah.
And people have multiple of them.
Right.
Travel has gotten expensive. So it's not an easy, cheap sport. So all those things are not that great. But I think it's all rest to the individual. And as long as we enjoy it, we are able to make those choices properly, I think it's fine.
Yeah. You're talking to a cyclist about it being expensive sport, but cycling, the kind of over the years, while it's beautiful that the availability has increased in terms of what is available and all that, it has become so much expensive. To begin with, it is an expensive sport, and it has become even more expensive now. Everything is like crazy expensive. But I hear you. Well,
yeah, cycling is at a different level.
Right. Excellent. So coming to on the same topic, or of over the years, right? For the last 8 years, I've seen the start of your nutrition brand, the Fast&Up. Right, and it has grown over the years into an excellent company that is catering to a lot of athletes and a lot of sports. Right. So how has the journey been for Fast&Up, and what have you seen in terms of the nutrition landscape? How has it changed over the years?
So, nutrition fundamentally, firstly, is the core for any sport. I think it's something which has not been spoken about as much as it should be. I think today it's getting more prominent than what it was. So, when I started out running, there was hardly much awareness about nutrition. The only thing that one used to take care of is probably during your long runs, you have a little bit of electrolytes. Or a Glucon-D, something like that. But that has evolved into more proper nutrition, and people are talking about how I should take care of nutrition, and that's a welcome sign. That means that India has started evolving, and I think the running community is a little bit more on the upwardly mobile kind of, compared to the general population,
right?
I would say, because of the sheer availability of resources that they have. So they are more likely to adopt new nutrition methods, new nutrition brands, etc.
Yeah.
So the last 10 years, the landscape has obviously changed for the better. There has been more awareness, and I think I'm fortunate to have played a key role since Fast&Up also came during that time, and in helping shaping, I would say, the nutrition landscape when it came to sports and performance in the country. The availability of nutrition was always a question mark in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Because I remember whenever we used to have a full marathon, the Mumbai Marathon, for a few months before, you would have queries whether somebody is coming from abroad so that I can get my DU gels or some other brand of gels from abroad so that I could use it in the runs. So today you have availability of energy gels across the country.
Yeah.
which is amazing because that means that every runner need not really wait for somebody to come from the US or UK to get them the jets. So that has changed. People are putting in better performances, and I think a part of that is also attributable to the nutrition that they take. People are able to recover more. People are able to race more, run more, right? I think at some level, you need to give credit to also the nutrition that they take.
Definitely, yeah.
Right? So I think fundamentally, today there is more awareness. People are more open to nutrition. You have brands which are available to be taken. But having said all that, we are still have a long way to go. I think we still have a long way to go in terms of adopting nutrition as a way to being better. At least we have started saying yes in many places. I think the journey will continue, but when it happens at some point in time, it will start opening other new issues about quality, about what is good, what is bad, etc. But I think in general, being open to nutrition has been a welcome sign.
Right. And what are the things that still need to change, you think, while the acceptability is there now, what are the things that because you are the insider, so to speak, right? You are seeing the trends, you are following the data and all that. So what are the things that are kind of going well and what not, what are the areas where there is opportunity to improve?
So I think for one, I'm very happy, we are very happy that there is more acceptance of nutrition. That's the first thing that has to happen, right? That people are more inclined to take nutrition.
Yeah.
Some of the things that can improve, can be better, is one, post-COVID, there have been a lot of brands just come into the picture. So there's a flurry of brands, there's a lot of marketing messages. And unfortunately in India, you don't have full insights into what that brand is, how good they are, etc. For example, if you look at some of the brands, very few have their own manufacturing facilities. Okay? So I think that kind of knowledge is not available to the customer. There is a lot more social media prophets out there giving their version of nutrition, what is good, what is not good. So it could get caught in the fad of that time.
Right.
So for the consumer or for the athlete, it becomes difficult to discern what is correct, what is not. Right. Third, I would say is once you get into more of usage of nutrition, I think quality will become a big factor, which I think the consumer will have to start looking at it more actively.
Okay.
The last thing that I think is a lot of people still feel that I have done my long run today and hence I need my nutrition. It's very hour specific. If I run 4 hours, then I need to have nutrition. If I run for 1 hour, body doesn't need anything. So that kind of thinking has to change because I think we are in a continued state of activity.
Right.
And we are in a continued state of maybe training as well or existence.
Yeah.
And nutrition is not just related to the performance aspect.
Right. Not only for the intense stuff.
So I think a few of those things have to change. But otherwise, I think it's a very interesting phase where nutrition is being taken up more actively.
True. Right. Now coming to taking a bit of a right turn and talking about managing work and all that, right? So what do you consider are some of the key qualities that a successful working athlete has?
So I come from the school of thought that sports only builds to your professional capabilities. I think I have not seen anyone who has practiced sports and not being good or capable when it comes to their profession. Because as a sportsman, sports person, you are taught to multitask, taught to manage challenges, taught to deal with crunch situations, take decisions on the go. You are taught to surmount challenges, fight diversities, and also stay patient, right? There are no overnight successes when it comes to sports.
Yeah.
You keep sharpening your sword for years for just that one match
Right.
which happens.
Mm.
So all these qualities are very important when it comes to being a professional,
Right.
right? So your terminology of a working athlete is amazing, because I think somebody who is working and who is able to manage being an athlete is, I think, a great or a very good field to have. I think one should try to excel in both. There is no reason why you can't excel in both.
Mm.
As much as you can push your professional capabilities to the highest level, I feel and I think that as an athlete, you should try and push your limits to whatever you can.
Yeah.
And have benchmarks where you try to excel. And if you are able to do well, I think both gel well and it feeds on each other. If you are able to have a successful marathon, I think the confidence rubs on you to do your work well.
True.
So I think it works both ways.
Yeah.
And I find that happening with almost everyone that I know of.
Mm. Excellent. And now, as a CEO of a big and growing company, you must be having some systems or some key disciplines or systems that you put in place to do well yourself and get most out of your employees. Would you share some of those?
So what I have seen around, and at least in the last couple of years, and I see people around. So when I do many of the marathons around the world today, which is the brand which comes to your name? Which is the brand which comes to your
Mind,
right? It's a Tatas.
Mm.
They are there everywhere.
Yeah.
Even in the Indian road races, they are there. And what makes them so special in marathons, apart from the name being there, and apart from them being an incredibly highly respected brand, which every Indian loves, is the fact that the chairman runs, some of the top management run, and it percolates because people see what they're doing. Right? What I've realized the last 2 years, 1 year, is that a lot of things that we do, I'm sure what you do and what I do, is also observed by many people. Some who may be explicit enough to come and tell you that. Some who silently observe and do things their own way, but they still look at it. It goes back to my school days, where you absolutely adore your seniors who are probably 4 or 5 years elder to you in action, right? And you silently observe, right? And today I think that's probably the same when it comes to the work environment or your own community. So I think the one fundamental thing that I've seen happen is, by what you are trying to do, the way you are trying to manage work and being an athlete, you are also trying to send out that message to your family, to your colleagues, to your peers, to people who see you, that this is also something of a path that can be taken.
Right.
And these are the yardsticks. Now, if you want to excel beyond it, please do that.
Right.
But there are some benchmarks out there. So I think, I think rather than enforcing a lot of things forcefully, I feel that these intangible things works much better.
Yeah, yeah, very well said. Now, let us talk about your specific example. So you are running a company, and you are managing your own training and performance, and you are there for your family of two young girls who are themselves into sport, representing country and stuff. So how do you manage all these aspects?
So not too difficult in my mind. I think I will not be able to answer for others, but for me, uh, there are only so many things that I tend to do in my life. I don't know whether it is less, more, or not. But fundamentally, there are only few things that I do. I work, I spend time with the family, and I run. There could be a few other things, but those are all incidental. Right? But these are the three big things that I do.
Three priorities.
Priorities in my life. So my whole day, whole week, whole month is centered around this. So from that perspective, I don't find it difficult, because whenever there is a decision making to be done, if it fits into any of these three, then it is taken up. And amongst that, the priority depends on what is more important at that point of time. And that is done. So a lot of people might find it a little boring from outside, but a lot of us, I think we enjoy it.
Right.
We enjoy this sense of control, sense of equilibrium, and are happy with it.
Right. You don't miss the things that you don't get to do. Basically, maybe the partying or the other stuff that some see as like some completely absent from you, or how do you live a monk's life, basically. It doesn't really kind of figure in the list of priorities, so to speak. Great. So, it's been kind of fantastic conversation, Vijay. So, what are some of the tips that you would give working athletes to do well at all these three aspects?
So, I think when we talk about three things that I talked about in terms of priorities for me: work, the sport that you pursue, and family. I think it cannot be one at the cost of another. Right? The very sense of being a working athlete means that we need to balance all the three. I don't think we should forget the fact that we are not professional athletes. We are not here to aspire to go into the Olympics. That bus has been missed.
Yes.
Long time back. So for us, it's important to realize that, and hence do well in all the three aspects. Because sometimes I feel, I see around that there are people who compromise on one aspect because they want to do well in something else. They want to better their times at the expense of their family. They leave work because they think they want to pursue running for the love of running. But we all should remember that there is kind of a symphony which happens only if all the three are
correct.
balanced. So I think that's probably the biggest tip I would give. You take one off, it may all get unsettled, it may all break.
Right.
So I think be conscious of that.
Yeah. Beautiful. That's a great note to end this conversation. It's been amazing. Thank you for taking the time and sharing your experience with the Working Athlete podcast.
Thanks, Venki. You have been doing a great job. I think you have been a master cyclist for a long time. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thanks, Vijay. That was my conversation with Vijay. I hope you enjoyed that. If you are enjoying these podcasts and are finding them useful, please consider supporting the podcast by subscribing to it on YouTube as well as on your favorite podcasting app. It really helps. Thanks again for your continuous support. See you next week with another guest.